Ladies and gentlemen, when the new Spider-Man game, when the sequel to the Incredible Spider-Man 1 game comes out, I'm definitely using this suit in particular for Miles. This suit would definitely be my main in the game since we already know that it's in the game. I'm just ready to get my hands on the game to play it with this suit. If I told you somebody like Miles Morales, Spider-Man's punches can make a building fall over, you probably would think I'm crazy. Well, stay tuned in this video. You're going to see a lot of proof of that kind of stuff. Despite his size, his punches can tremble buildings. Oh boy. Miles Morales is unique because he's one of them Spider-Man to where he can kind of fly for a short distance because he can launch himself through the air with controlled venom blast. This was basically to get to an area he couldn't because there was nothing to swing on. So he can launch himself and kind of fly through the air, which is kind of epic. That's Miles. Epic feats and strength is coming up soon in this vid. Majority of this video, I'm going to focus on his power level, like his normal power levels. One could say the power level he's normally at most of comics, like his spider-like level strength and stuff like that. But, you know, just like every other comic character, he gets his fair share of temporary power-ups. Say it with me, powers that characters get and they become godlike and then they end up losing it. Yay! Miles gets this too, becoming Captain Universe, becoming godlike. And you're not completely a spider character if there isn't one point where you become a symbiote at one point, like becoming a Carnage. You see what I mean? Miles has got this too. You know how I treat temporary power-ups. I'm not going to focus on these things too much. This is the main one we need to worry about. The Marvel Universe or Marvel Multiverse is vast. And since Spider-Man is one of the most popular superheroes of all time, it's natural that there will be multiple Spider characters, all different type of genders, age, or races. The one I want to go over today is none other than Miles Morales. You know how the Ultimate Avengers movies are kind of based off the Ultimate comics? Like even Thor's even quite looks different in the Ultimate Universe. You get the idea, right? Similar to those movies, Miles in the comics originated from the Ultimate Universe where this Peter had to interact with these versions of the Avengers or things of that such. But you guys know how these comics roll. There was multiversal shenanigans. This is basically the explanation on how Miles got into the main 616 universe. Because Earth 616 and Earth 1610 is the one, you know, Miles was on, of course. There was a collision. When two universes merged, they call it incursion. You see the Spider-Man from 616 in this scan and Spider-Man 1610, that's Miles. You see how they did that there? After the universes were destroyed and rebuilt, Miles was basically transported to the main universe with the main Peter so we can see them interact more in cool comics like that. Just to give you an understanding on why there will be feats of him in the other universe and this universe feats in this video. All these multiversal events Miles has to be a part of. It's interesting to see Miles interact with like TV versions of characters. Like, yeah, legit TV versions of characters from the old TV shows that some old heads grew up with. He interacts with those same versions because of multiversal stuff. You know, funny, right? But you guys know the standard stuff when it comes to spider characters, when it comes to Miles getting his power. It's the same old spider-like stuff. Got bit by this super spider, started developing powers even other Spider-Men don't have. So one could say he's unique even compared to other Spider-Man, like going invisible. His invisibility even works on the fact that gods don't even recognize him or see him when he's invisible, like Ares. Like when there's traps everywhere, he can use the spider sense to kind of evade every trap. He can tell when somebody has killing intent. He can detect when he's about to get shot. So he already knows that he needs to already start moving out the way. This kind of stuff happens more than once in his career. Spider-like stuff like sticking the walls, cleaning the surfaces, standard spider stuff. And he can use shock, elemental, electric type of attacks that one could say help his punches and things of that such. I'm going to come back to this later on in this video though. One of the many things that makes him unique compared to other Spider-Man. What if I told you Miles gets so good with his abilities? Like it's legit on some Green Lantern type stuff. Like he literally made a sword. So one could say this could give him some cutting power type stuff with his lightning or electric type of abilities. Yeah, he gets good over the years, versatility wise. Like here, for example, you see him use it as a construct, like rope. It seems like he doesn't have the same shock type properties though. One could say this could extend his range. One could say bioenergy webbing or whatever that comes out of his fingers to restrain beings, like Iron Spider here. He ends up getting tech. One can look at it as standard gear, like web shooters, like other spider characters use, so they can shoot webs, kind of to sell the whole spider theme thing. Over time, he got upgrade to his web shooters thanks to Tony Stark helping him out. You know, there's a lot of heroes that help each other out from here and there. Just like the other 616 main Spider-Man, he can do interesting creative stuff with his web, like parachutes, for example, parachute web to slow his descent. And he got a present from Galactus himself for Christmas that gave him acid-proof web shooters or formula. Like, oh my goodness, this is such a gag. Like, you tell me Galactus gave him a gift to help his web shooters? And they pretty much sum up his lore here. Months before Peter Parker was shot and killed, Miles was about to start a new chapter in his life. Then he was suddenly bitten by a stolen, genetically altered spider that gave him incredible arachnid-like powers. And this right here pretty much gives you the lore about Miles that you need. If you want to pause, you can read all this if you wish to learn more about Miles. Spider-Man in regards to his lore and things of that such, his superpowers, things I'm going to go over in this video, strength, power grid, blah, blah, blah. Just like any character, he went through his fair share of evolutions when it comes to spider suits. He's gotten different looking suits over his career. This is the suit you might recognize him the most from. And he just keeps getting fresher as time goes by. Okay, so just starting off with a bang. When it comes to his raw muscle power and everything, raw spider-like strength, just like other Spider-Man, he has spider-like strength. And I'm talking about his strength, and that's it, not counting his web strength or his blast or energy projection and stuff like that. Just his physical strength and stuff. Just like how ropes and stuff like that helps people carry stuff, that doesn't mean just because you have a rope or a web, you should be able to carry somebody this big. Like Rhino, he still can carry him while he's swinging like nothing, implying this isn't really that heavy to him. Decent-sized rubble. One could say debris he can easily lift up. There was these gas lines. Miles has the strength to bend with his physicals. Bends this metal gate around a scroll. This is somebody I'm going to go over probably again when it comes to him fighting spider foes. I'll bring it up later, but yeah, you can see in this occasion he throws him so hard he cracks the pillar. You see this safe? He's strong enough to rip it out the wall itself. Things known as shipping containers can have different weights, of course. They can be like 2 tons, even up to 4 tons. Even if we're talking about noob days, when he was just getting started in a different costume, he can not only lift up a shipping container, but also throw it. And he's strong enough to pick up and throw police cars. Like how he uses web to get a grip on the car here and slings it towards a villain. Punch through it and tear it open. So his strength also goes with his punching power. You see, his super strength gives him more punching power than usual. He even states it when he's striking, strength of a spider, or a pissed off spider, implying his punching power is because of this super strength he got from being spider-like. You see what I mean? So yeah, he can punch really hard with his spider-like strength. We've seen him hit or kick beams towards vehicles, and the collateral of his hits crumbles this car. I'm a firm believer that spider tier characters are way stronger than super soldiers physically. Like he punches Winter Soldier, for example, somebody that's a super soldier tier at least. He punches through his gun, and other super soldiers like Hydra, Captain America, for example, Miles punches can break through his shield and even punch him to the point where he's unconscious. Like, I would consider Wolverine slightly above super soldiers when it comes to physical. It's just his claws and his healing factor that makes him way more of a threat than a normal super soldier, I would say. We've seen Miles dance around beings like this, Old Man Logan version, of course. We've seen him Venom punch, super punch beings like Taskmaster. Super beings whose bodies can withstand cramming into cars and things of that such. Miles' punches, with his blunt punches mixed with his electric Venom blast, amping his punches up, makes his punches even harder to take characters like this out. Miles amping his punches on many occasions, one could say, is plenty of evidence that it does help his blunt power output, or he wouldn't use it, right? The same goes for when he punches beings like Blackheart towards a bus and crumbles the bus as a collateral of his hit. Like, he's fought different versions of villains, like Goblin, for example. He kicked him some considerable distance. Like, I already showed this car situation with him earlier, but yeah, he punched him so hard here to where he actually flew through multiple buildings when it comes to Miles's punching power. When you see stuff like that of him punching through multiple buildings with his blunt power, so punching through a roof makes sense. This should be easy. I can't forget to bring up Ultimate Goblin. You know, this fight was kind of extended. We see him punch him so many times that it actually starts looking like it's making craters in the ground, kicks and punches combined. Punching through all that stuff is cool and dandy and stuff, but when you realize he has to face beings that are way bigger than him, beings that one could say are bigger than houses or even certain buildings he has to face, despite the size difference between him and his opponent being astronomical. Like, you can see the size comparisons yourself. Like, look how he looks in her hand. He can use his electric ability to zap her, and look how small he is compared to her foot. One could say it's a combination of his zapping or electric shock abilities. He can use this on top of his punches this hard. It's crazy because one could say Miles actually feels bad for one-shotting her because she's a girl, but yo, this shouldn't even count. Like, this is a big girl, Miles. Don't feel bad. Occasions like this imply that he can lift way more than cars, and hey, we already seen it. His punches can basically punch down things that are building size or humans that are building size, proving that you can be bigger than him, but size can still be nothing. This would kind of prove that Miles's punches is strong enough to take down, one could say, things as large as buildings, or knock over building size structures sideways, destroy the support pillars with his punches that can hold up a building's weight, or one could say his punches can just do this much destruction if he really wanted to. I mean, we already seen him punch beings through multiple buildings. Adding this one on top of it just kind of fuels the fire of how hard he can punch. And just in case you didn't know, his body can withstand what he can dish out too, because when big creatures hit him into a building, He seems to be able to shrug it off despite him crumbling pieces of the building up. I mean, you got occasions like this where he lands on a car and does all this damage to the car after landing on the car, and he's okay afterwards and can still move and save people and think sharply after such a thing. Yeah, in this occasion with Galactus, he's taken hits from beings that one can say are even physically stronger than himself. Like Rhino is like considered to be stronger than Spider characters. He still withstood a hit, a direct hit, might I add. More proof that Miles can withstand a beating. Look what these blasts do to a bus. Even taking hits from clones of himself, so you know his body can withstand as much as he can dish. Just like how earlier I already showed you that he can lift up cars and stuff, he can actually take punches from beings that have strength similar to that kind of stuff. Picking up cars, he can take hits from beings like this, so you know his durability has to add up with his strength. This building destruction stuff kind of matches up with other Spider characters. You guys remember the famous feat of Spider-Man supporting the weight of some of a building? Like, it wasn't nowhere near all the weight of the building. It's still ridiculously impressive still. When you compare feats like this with Miles, I mean, I know this is a lifting feat, but when you compare feats of power in general to Miles punching somebody that's building size, it kind of makes sense with the building punching down lore, having the strength to punch down houses or buildings. You know what I mean? Spider-Man has supported the weight so he can put pillars in the way so he can help support the building, then use his web to help support the building. You know, stuff like that. It kind of adds up. You're probably wondering, why am I bringing all this up? I'm bringing all this up because understanding Peter's strength is a good way to understand Miles' strength, because you know how Spider-Man's fought a lot of foes. One of the many foes they fought, it was a goblin, one of them being Hobgoblin, somebody that's stated by Spider-Man to be just as strong as him. His punch is verified, implying his punching power. The main Spider-Man, 616 Spider-Man Peter Parker, talks about Hobgoblin here. He talks about how the guy possesses super strength on par with his own. Just like how Green Goblin is on par with him, it should apply for Hobgoblin as well. Stated here that Hobgoblin's super strength is virtually equal to Spider-Man. The Goblin himself said it, the Hobgoblin. Even stated here, he might become more powerful than the original Green Goblin, who was already a match for Spider-Man. I mean, that kind of stuff is stated here, but that kind of stuff was also stated in my Green Goblin video, how Green Goblin is a match for Spider-Man physically. Stated here that him and the Green Goblin were evenly matched. All this stuff should apply to his durability as well, because, you know, Hobgoblin can take hits from Spider-Man because he's evenly matched with him in every way when it comes to physicals, physical punches, and durability, endurance, things of that such, taking punches from Spidey himself. And Miles hit Hobgoblin hard enough to make him sleepy. So you gotta respect Miles' strength. Like I already showed you him fighting the ultimate Green Goblin, like a different universe version of Green Goblin. You already knew that part. Him fighting his universe version of Green Goblin, we already knew that's possible. But he can also fight the canon universe's version of characters that give the main 616 Spider-Man issue. Hammerhead is a constant Spidey threat. We've seen Miles give him some hands to where he was bloody. His punches can hit Tombstone so hard. Another Spider-centric or Peter Parker Spider-Man 616 Spider-Man level threat. We see him punch him and his blood gets drawn. This guy Tombstone is bulletproof. There was even a time in the old days where Peter Parker punching him actually hurt his hand punching Tombstone. Like, this is older comics though, but this is still impressive. And I'm talking canon 616 Peter Parker Spider-Man punching him, and he eats Spider-Man's punches. Like, his durability is crazy. Even Spider-Man hurt his hand here again against Tombstone. Not only are bullets useless against him, but when somebody pulls out a rocket, you're just going to mess up the environment around him. It's not really a threat for him and his own durability. Yet, Miles' punches can draw blood from this being known as Tombstone, when stuff that can level buildings couldn't, implying that Miles' punches are worse than things that can destroy buildings. I mean, are they implying that Miles' punches are more devastating than missiles if missiles can't hurt Tombstone or bullets? I mean, this is saying a lot about Miles' punching power. I'm just saying. Punching hard helps when you have fighting training with this kind of strength. I mean, we already know of his battle tactics of webbing eyes, something a lot of Spider-centric characters do to kind of get the jump on their opponents, you know, to create their own openings when need be. All this webbing stuff in the face aside, I think when it comes to his fighting ability, or when it comes to his raw skills, for most of the part, he doesn't really need actual fighting skills when you're this strong and fast, but he has some type of training. Like, he legit studied old films of Peter, fighting different foes. Chilling with his Uncle Aaron, he got some type of fighting lessons. Here they talk about it. Jackie Chan. He incorporates the stuff he learns in the movies he fought and his lessons with Uncle Aaron and his fighting style, fighting groups in this particular panel. We've seen him getting in tangles with the Prowler, his Uncle Aaron. I mean, you got occasions with him interacting with Aaron here and fighting. And you got some type of fighting experience, even though he's not old enough to really have long-term fighting experience. In his lore and handbook, he stated he got trained by Captain America. Stated here, an argument can be made that whatever his punches can do, one can argue that his blast power is even better. One could say can do some blast power type, so like he shoot like an energy beam in this occasion. One could say this can significantly increase his area of effect, because if you try to outnumber him, he can pretty much hit everybody in the vicinity by hitting the floor and y'all all get shocked up. I mean, we've seen it have the kind of blast power where he can literally blast and mess up armor with it. Fry electronics like in one of his mini battles, of course. Electricity and electronics don't mix. He can kind of use this to get a jump on certain characters. And it helps that he can channel it through the web and destroy Spider-Man's web. If you're one of those people that believe that Peter has the advantage physically, that's fine. But does Miles even really need physicals when he can blast and briefly incapacitate beings like Peter with his blast? Or even KO Spider-Man, Peter Parker himself? It even comes in handy against symbiotes. You know, the symbiotes like Venom and stuff. These Venom blasts can harm such beings. So Miles is somebody you might want to have on the team. I mean, if it can hurt big symbiotes that are bigger than helicopters, look how small the helicopters look in comparison to this mess. Like when a symbiote tries to get on him, he can even use his blast to make the symbiote itself kind of sleepy. Then get the advantage on you and punch you. You guys remember Noel, the god of the symbiote, right? You see his lightning punch do this to his avatar. I mean, we've seen with simple taps that this Venom Blast can knock out these two monsters that are bigger than him. It gets worse. He has like higher level versions of the same blast called the Mega Venom Blast, where he can do blasts in omnidirectional attack type ways to where he can let go of the restraints they're being held in. The only downside of the Mega Venom Blast being that it makes him dizzy and useless for a while. It has the blast power, not only to shock beings, but it tends to have destructive power, like in this example, to be able to rip apart chains to show how destructive they can get. So even if he's in a room full of ninjas, he can just do a wide area of effect and affect all of y'all. Think of it like this. If he can already collapse a building, one could say, with just a normal old punch with his raw physical spider superhuman strength, imagine how much more powerful his punch will be when he decides to amp it up with bioelectric aura, or when he decides to amp it up with Venom Blast, like similar to how he was punching Ultimate Goblin here. There's even more evidence that he might be able to even punch harder than building destruction based on some of the opponents that we've seen him encounter. Like a mixture of his Venom Blast and everything put together, he was able to do this to Fing Fang freaking Foom. His blast can even affect top tiers like Blackheart. This is an interesting feat because this will automatically make him a powerhouse, but it is noted that it's implied that this could be a weakness to Blackheart because of his demonic central nervous system. They imply that Miles just happens to get lucky. He even says luck. Was able to pull off probably his most impressive feat of all time with multiple Venom Blasts, maybe because the Venom Blast is his weakness or something, and he doesn't have good resistance to electric type attacks, maybe. This is impressive still. The annoying thing about Spider character is that they're already super strong, but they have gear like webbing that makes them more of a nuisance. One could say their web can be an extension of them. One could say their web is just as strong as his physicals. And Miles, just like any other Spider character, can take advantage of using web in combat when needed, dodging bullets, taking out goons. I mean, if the web can work on supervillains with super strength, what the heck do you think normal humans are going to do if you get trapped in his web? Heck, even Hydra goons are out of luck. Same with soldiers. Like, I did briefly mention how the web, one can argue that the web is as strong as the Spider characters themselves. This is kind of proven low-key because we already seen Spider characters lift up, vehicles and stuff. We already seen Miles be able to lift up vehicles, but also his web can hold up multiple vehicles, cars, buses, blah, blah, blah. On too many occasions, stuff like this happens. Even his web can restrain trains. You get the idea. Falling truck, web can hold it up. On top of his physical strength and punching power, he has amazing webs that can help restrain beings like him using it against this big monster here. Even restraining big beings like Miss Marvel, he can use his web to restrain beings like this. Vampire tears that give Spider-Man issues like Morbius, he can restrain. When I say Spider-Man, I'm talking about 616 Peter Parker Spider-Man issues. Part of the reason why he might be able to hit hard is because maybe he can move his fist really fast. Well, let's talk about his combat speed. There was these drones. It was pretty much stated that he has reaction time that exceeds even the drones. Like, I don't want y'all to get bored of this, but when it comes to projectiles like bullets, there's a good chance if you're a Spider character, bullets are usually too slow to hit them. Miles is no exception to this. One could say his fighting speed could be good because of his spider sense. Even beings that have really great aim like Winter Soldier, see the spider sense warned him, he reacted to it. You see what I mean? Like, one could say he's fast because the spider sense helps him know where the bullet's about to be. So he kind of knows what you're going to do before you do it, which helps him evade. Around gunfire on a daily basis, and the fact that he knows what you're about to do before you do it, one could say he uses this as an opening to not only evade your raining gunfire, but also get close to you without getting hit once. It's just fighting speed in general, evading bullets. Batting cages like this, he can just web them up, all these balls coming at him. This should be ridiculously easy compared to him dodging bullets. So his reflexes are way past supersonic level, evading missiles for a little while, and evading stuff from multiple directions, all this mess. Kraven, somebody that's always fighting Spider-Man, he can not only battle characters like Kraven, but also dodge his attack. even making jokes saying you got to be faster than that, buddy, and catches a sword mid-swing. I mean, Miles is fast on his own, but one could say his web shooters are fast too because bullets can even be mid-flight and his web can catch bullet speed and shows that web's durability as well. Super soldier tiers, like one could say Taskmaster is at least a super soldier tier when it comes to fighting speed. We know super soldiers in Marvel do impressive things, and we know Miles can keep up with beings like Taskmaster when it comes to raw fighting speed. The two are bare minimum comparable in speed. Before you can even do anything, he can just blast you with web, implied to literally be able to look at and dodge the bullets while they're mid-flight. Yes, his fighting speed's consistent, even with his new outfit. Like, I'm pretty sure you got respect for Miles. Like, he legit got hit by a rhino horn. Apparently, it didn't pierce him, and withstand Scorpion's stinger. See, let me briefly go over one of these temporary power-ups. This one that Miles had, like, look how epic he looks in this outfit. In this adventure, it's a magic device that will take us through the nexus of all realities to somewhere else. That's where Man-Thing is, blah, blah, blah. But doing this will also change him. That's how Miles changed, you know. They say it reads your heart and soul and shows you what you could be in another reality. So I guess this is what Miles will be in another reality with a new set of abilities and things of that such and daggers. Yeah, and he looks like he's like a cloaked up Spider-Man. And apparently he can hide people in his cloak, stating he's never hid that many people in his cloak before. Yeah, this is neat. This new version of himself is called Shadow Spider. They'd use this device known as the Siege Parallel that grants them new fantastical identities. Like it's literally stated here, he had a whole different life. He didn't remember who he was in this particular second. But you guys knew this was coming. Naturally, something like this can't stay permanent. He needs to be the Miles Morales we know and love. So he got switched back, of course. Temporary power-up. That's how usually these type of things roll in Marvel. So he's back to normal. This looked cool, but yeah, let me get off this. Like I mentioned earlier, you're not officially a spider character if you haven't got infected with the symbiote at one point in your life. You know this had to happen to Miles during the Absolute Carnage event. Like, he got multiple arms. Don't this look creepy? Yeah, but this was extremely short-lived. Using his Venom Blast to help get him out of here, he got free of it. And he's himself again. Yeah, not really no point in going over the symbiote power-ups. You know, symbiotes most of the time spider-centric tier anyway. He's strong without this symbiote. Oops, there was another time they tried to have him succumb to it, but he blasted. Like, you see how he looks here. But yeah, he got free of it, of course. It was during this big multiversity crossover. Miles calls out to the Enigma Force, you know, Captain Universe power-up, basically. Pretty much at this moment, Miles is strong in your favorite characters because, you know, the history of Captain Universe being powerful is apparent. This super spider team up taking on the Inheritors, Spider-Geddon, he had Energy Blast. Whatever he can do before in his previous powered state, he can do better now. He even states he can combine the Enigma Force with his Venom Strike. So yeah, he can actually combine or stack power. Like this lets you know he's in a totally new level of power because the being he's blasting, Miles stated that when another Spider-Man was trying to help, he's totally out of your weight class. Implying if Miles was in his normal power levels, this character would be out of his weight class too. And this being that was out of a normal Spider character's weight class, he used this Mega Sword and took care of him. And after this, the other Inheritors was just done for. That's a lot of Spider people. But of course, you know they can't keep Miles stronger than everybody in the whole universe. So yeah, of course, the Enigma Force is gone. And he's back to his plain old power levels. He don't need this to be a beast anyway. But everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed. Do you respect Miles? If you didn't before, I hope you do now. Bro, I got one of the freshest outfits known to man. I'm not even going to lie. But before I get going, everybody, respect Miles. Thank you, donators, a lot. It helps out a lot. Respect Miles. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.